What's going on? Welcome to Joe's Geek Show, the video series where we talk comics. And before we get started, if you'd like to support the channel, you can do so by clicking that subscribe button, hitting that like button, and sharing. And with that, Power Rangers Ranger Slayer, issue number 1. Written by Ryan Parrott, with art by Dan Mora, colors by Raul Angulo, and letters by Ed Dukeshire. And this book starts with Kimberly Hart from the Drakkon universe laying in a field, having returned home, finding Drakkon's ranger sentries still terrorizing the people. She suddenly shoots at what appears to be ranger zombies and fights them until they retreat. A sentry who noticed her bows to Kimberly, where she instructs him to leave the people alone, where we then cut to Drakkon's fortress, finding Finster 5 working on a project when Scorpina enters, informing us that she has been sitting on Lord Drakkon's throne in his absence. The same Mastodon sentry from earlier enters and informs Scorpina of Kimberly, a.k.a. the Ranger Slayer's return. Meanwhile, at the Mastodon safe house, home of the Coinless, Kimberly seeks out her former teammates such as Trini and Zack, asking to atone for her past. They naturally don't believe her. Bulk speaks up, and eventually they agree to allow her to aid them, where we find out that they need to get to the command center, but it's heavily guarded by the spirit sentries, which are the same zombified sentries we saw from earlier. It's not long before they are outside the command center, where Kimberly and Bulk pilot a Megazord to distract the spirit sentries so Trini and Zack can sneak in. Once inside, it's revealed that Rita Repulsa has been resurrected, to which Zack attacks, but is easily overpowered, and also Rita reveals that she was brought back to life by the hands of Trini. And also, having made a deal with Trini to not hurt them, Rita does let Zack go, but then summons a spirit Goldar, who rises and rips the Megazord apart. Back at the Mastodon safe house, Trini explains she did it because after Drakkon vanished, all of the villains warred for control of the Earth, killing many people caught in the crossfire. They then come to a decision to stop Rita, but agree they need help, which cuts to them walking into Drakkon's fortress, where Scorpina orders their execution, but the Ranger sentries do not because they still hold respect for Kimberly. Kimberly then convinces Scorpina to join forces as we see Rita lead her army into the city, where they meet the combined forces of the Coinless and the Sentries. A great battle between the factions ensues, with the reveal of a Lord Zed that had been mashed up with the Dragon Zord, doing battle with the Spirit Goldar. The battle comes to a climax with Scorpina and Trini taking on Rita, only to end with Trini trapping Rita in her staff. Rita's forces then vanish, leaving the Sentries and Coinless victorious. The two sides then return to Drakkon's fortress to discuss who should rule, when all agree that in the meantime, Kimberly, the Ranger Slayer, should sit on Drakkon's throne, as she has trust on both sides. The book then ends with everyone bowing to their new leader, Kimberly Hart, the Ranger Slayer. Yep, I absolutely love this book. There's just something so interesting about the Drakkon universe, or the Coinless universe, as some call it. Because in the world of Power Rangers, this world essentially is the worst possible outcome imaginable, where the sides have been fighting each other for so long, and then of course Tommy chose to stay evil even after the spell was broken, which led to his overall control of the planet, effectively leading it into a dystopian future. And I also like seeing how different other characters like Trini and Zack ended up. And as far as main characters go, Kimberly here is a very great protagonist. I really love her backstory because she was someone that at first was tasked to go and kill Lord Drakkon, but ends up getting a spell put on her that led her to becoming the Ranger Slayer, to which she ended up hunting down former allies. And after the spell was broken, she too was broken. And so, of course, after some time and a few adventures, she returns home to her world to essentially initiate a redemption story. But interestingly enough, it's not just the redemption of Kimberly the Ranger Slayer here. We also find out in the book that Trini also herself has a bit of a redemption arc as well, because she was the one that freed Rita, which more or less initiated the events of this particular issue. And so between these two characters, you have trust that's been broken. And the way things kind of resolve, it kind of shows that, to a degree, some things that are broken can be fixed, but not everything that's broken can be fixed. Because even though Kimberly and Trini, I would say, started to kind of, again, redeem themselves and get the trust of their friends once more, the world is really still left in a desolate state. Because even though Kimberly and Trini, to a degree, do get their redemption story and their friends start to trust them again, the rest of the world isn't so lucky. So the only thing that they can possibly do is put Kimberly on the throne, at least being the face of Drakkon's empire. Because again, this world is so broken, it needs a ruler. And I think this has the prospect of being an interesting story further, because now you get into the idea of, well, the spell is broken, but now she's in a great position of power. Is that power going to corrupt her and effectively turn her into the next Lord Drakkon, or is she going to listen to Trini, Zach, and Bulk and try to potentially make things better? Because even the Ranger Sentries and Scorpina, they are still who they are. You know, Scorpina doesn't want to give up control of the armies, and the Sentries, again, will most likely not want to give up their powers and return to a regular civilian life. So it would be very interesting to see if Kimberly can maybe take the Ranger Sentries and turn them into a positive military force. I also really liked Bulk in this story. One thing that between the Free Comic Book Day Ranger Slayer and this particular book, Bulk has just been great. And I will say that I really enjoyed both Bulk and Skull getting a little bit of the limelight, more so Bulk than Skull, because Skull really didn't pop up till towards the end of the book. But the parts that Bulk was in were really great, because this is a character like Skull, they're used to more or less being the butt of the joke. And even after having their storylines in the Power Rangers in Space universe, where, you know, they helped fight the Quantrons and the invasion of Earth, in the next season, they went back to being a joke. So I do like it when writers take the time to make them just a little bit more serious, because at the very heart of it, Bulk and Skull are both very heartfelt characters. They care about others, whether they claim to or not. And when Kimberly was asking to once again join forces with Zach and Trini, they didn't want to do it, but Bulk is the one that said, hey, you guys used to be Power Rangers, you know, we are about second chances. And I just really like this characterization for him. And then when he teams up with Skull at the end, when they're helping to battle the Spirit Sentries, it really does show that under the right circumstances, both of these characters have the makings of a hero. I just kind of wish we got a few more scenes with Bulk and Skull together. Also, I really liked Rita here. I think she was a great antagonist for the book because, I mean, for one, she's a familiar villain. And also, having been really the first villain the Power Rangers faced, it was also meaningful too, I would say. Because this war and the Power Rangers and all that, it feels kind of fitting that it starts with her, and to a degree, it starts to kind of wrap up with her. And this book also continues to show the wicked nature of Rita Repulsa because, again, like in the show, she was a little bit of a joke, but the Boom Studios comics have taken her a lot more seriously and even given her one of the most interesting backstories for a villain. Plus, zombie sentries. I like it. And I'm sure that this is going to tie back to MMPR somehow because in the current Mighty Morphin Power Rangers title, Drakkon has shown back up. He's told the Rangers that something worse than him is coming. I'm actually kind of curious if this might not be a nod to what's going on in this book, at which Kimberly might become the next Drakkon, or even quite possibly worse than Drakkon. Overall, I think it's a very good story. I think it's a good setup to potential future stories. And with that, I'm going to give Power Rangers Ranger Slayer issue number 1 a 9 out of 10. So Power Rangers Ranger Slayer issue number 1. Have you read this book? I would love to hear your thoughts. Please leave your comments in the comment section below. And if you like this video, I'd love it if you'd smash that like button, share it with some friends. Subscribe if you're not subscribed already, and ring that notification bell for more comic book content. And if you're wondering what to watch next, consider one of these 2 videos. And if you would like to know the entire history of the Power Rangers in comic books, I've got a video that you can check out right up here called Power Rangers, a Comic Book History, with an introduction by Karen Ashley, a.k.a. Aisha, the second Yellow Ranger. Alright, take care, have a great day, and as always, stay geeky.